Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming. My name is Olo and this is my level 60 rogue. I made this rogue just a couple hours ago and it's already level 60. For whatever reason, you can level alts insanely fast in Diablo 4 with the right plan and setup, and even now, post Nightmare Dungeon nerfs. You can genuinely reach level 50 in under an hour, even say as close to 30 minutes with the right setup. Level 60 can take an hour or two with the right setup also, and this is a major boost to your life on a new character, that's for sure. Why specifically level 60 though? Well, this is the level requirement to start equipping ancestral gear and a good point to start surviving in torment mode on your own. We'll be nicely into World Tier 4, collecting those ancestrals, legendaries, and the full unique pool, all while the character is still brand new. As a warning, this requires you to have completed the campaign on at least one character, and I would also strongly recommend you have completed all regions and their renown, meaning you've got all like the paragon points and skills and so on. This will apply to a fresh character, which is obviously beneficial, but if you haven't fully completed these, you have to start from zero, which is just not worth it. The other part is the main method of leveling. There's two options, group or solo. The extremely effective ultra fast leveling is done as a group, and the simply effective leveling is done as solo. The main strat then is to do it as a group, and I'm going to explain that and all the tips and stages as you go, but I will also then explain the alternative, less effective method that is solo. Ideally though, you'll have a full party, but I just had one friend most of the time helping me, which worked incredibly well all the same. To begin, we'll make our character and then choose skip the campaign. This will sort of spawn you in Kyovo with the ability to get started right away. In fact, you can instantly enter the capstone dungeon here in the Cathedral of Light to unlock Nightmare mode, but before you do that, you want to craft some XP elixirs at the Alchemist, which we'll want to have running as soon as possible. Pick the cheapest and weakest ones, starting with the first one that only requires level 5 to use. We don't care whatever the perks of the elixirs are, we just want that 5% XP buff, but from here, we're ready to go. Take your friends into World Tier 2 and enter the Cathedral of Light capstone dungeon. Have your friends carry you through this straight into the Nightmare mode unlock. Ideally though, in these dungeons, you want to maintain a close distance to your friends. This means you're staying near enough to one friend or more by roughly 2 or 3 screens of distance that keeps the party XP buff. If it disappears from your buff list, that just means you're too far away from anyone. Basically, it's a 10% XP increase when near someone in your party, so it does matter, it really helps. However, only do that if you're not dying constantly to make it happen, because you're only going to slow things down there, so it's not really worth it. A neat trick in that case is to let yourself die and then respawn but don't move. You'll be immune to damage but still alive and still getting XP stood there. You'll see yourself as a sort of half ghost version, so certainly a useful trick. Either way, with that capstone done, you can now unlock tier 3 at the world tier statue. As an important extra tip, don't waste your time looting here. Any legendary or unique you leave on the ground will appear in a special tab back in town at the stash. This can store up to 10 items at once, so make sure you empty that out semi-regularly, but it basically means you don't have to run around looting, and that will really speed things up. Next, it's time for the second capstone dungeon, the Fallen Temple. Once again, your party will carry you through this dungeon and unlock World Tier 4 at the end. As a bonus tip, remember you can let your friends who actually have waypoints around the map teleport to those waypoints. Then you can teleport straight to them via the town portal in a main city. That'll help you unlock the map on a new character, but you can also wait for them to enter the dungeon and then again teleport straight to them. At this stage, we will be in World Tier 4, meaning 200% increased monster kill XP. We'll have the full unique pool, both sacreds and ancestrals are all dropping now. This is where we begin using Nightmare Dungeons to blast to level 60. Nightmare Dungeons, if you didn't know, have higher drop rates on both sacred and ancestrals, which was recently publicly confirmed by the Diablo team. Further, in the recent campfire chat, they promised to buff the XP gained in Nightmare Dungeons as a whole, which at the time of me making this video isn't in game, but hopefully when this video is out tomorrow, it is, but maybe that's copium. In any case, the loot is very consistent and very good in there, and you're also going to get glyph XP at the end. Also, there's glyph drops, of course, and plenty of opportunities to get legendaries and uniques. Your question might be, why not do, say, Champion's Demise or other leveling dungeons instead of Nightmare Dungeons? Well, that's going to be a top tier pick if you have a full party. For example, with Champion's Demise, there's 3 lanes. If they're all being cleared really quickly by one player each in the party while you stand near just one of them for the party XP buff, that's going to be very good XP. The better version of that is to do it while still in a nightmare version of the dungeon with the positive affix of Magic Find. That would be optimal and lead to absolutely insane power leveling speeds that we can reach. While you're grinding your dungeons though, at this point, I would start to recommend actually cleaning up loot when it's safe. This is because glyphs will be dropping for you in dungeons generally after you hit World Tier 3 and beyond. It sucks to have to level a random blue glyph you never ever going to use, so ideally you want to be looking for those. They happen often enough though, I've got most of mine already, but it'll really help with this power leveling if you're doing Nightmare Dungeons and also leveling, say, main glyphs for a build, doubling up on your time efficiency. If you do have any downtime during the power leveling, say your friend needs to take a break or whatever, I would recommend always looking out for Gathering Legion events. They're actually amazing XP, but sadly inconsistent as a world event. Maximize those events then whenever they show up by going to them and gathering 15 stacks of the XP buff via the campfire. You do that by clicking on it once and then just standing near it. The buff stacks up to 15 over time, which might take too long before the event starts, but you can actually return to the campfire over and over during the event, even though the campfire is no longer visually lit. While you're underleveled, you can just let the randoms doing the event hard carry it and you just be nearby, avoiding fighting directly yourself, and just make sure the actual XP buff from the campfire doesn't run out by returning to the campfire whenever you need to. Do these whenever you can. Second to that, in your downtime, go do your unlocks, your class quests, but I would recommend you swap to World Tier 1 to go do that, just so you can get through it as quick as possible. The XP is not going to be worth your time. And certainly avoid doing any of this while your friend can actually help you do the dungeons. In the end though, we simply worked the Nightmare Dungeon method all the way to 60, which took me roughly 5 hours of game time, with one friend most of the time. At one point, I was able to get 2 people in the party with Josh and Cotton helping me towards the end, and you can really feel how much faster a team splitting up the clear of the mobs and the objectives really is. So I can't stress how insanely effective it could be to run a full group in Nightmare mode versions of Champion's Demise with Magic Find and 3 people going and clearing their individual lanes as fast as possible. Either way, put these methods to use all the way to 60. Be warned that the XP will slow down at 50 and beyond, but remains consistent generally all the way. 1 to 50 is mega quick, and 50 to 60 definitely takes longer, but it's well worth it to make sure you get to 60 so that you can use that gear you're collecting in Ancestral and blast yourself after that from 60 to 70. But with all that explained, what about solo? Ultimately, it is much slower to be solo than do the group method. That's just the way it is. But there are options. If you can get a friend, even just one, do the group method. Further, maybe consider joining like a Diablo 4 Discord of some kind and find a leveling group. There's a lot that exist. But if you must solo, you're gonna have to raw dungeon farm yourself. This means the most XP time efficient dungeons we can find and just repeat them. In the post-nerfed dungeon world we live in now, where overall all dungeons spawn less elites, it's still the play to go, say, Ruins of Eridu at the south side of the map, or the Forsaken Quarry above Kyovo, or the classic Champion's Demise. These are all solid options for this purpose. To reset a dungeon after a run in solo, you need to exit the dungeon and then leave the game back to character select, then load back in and run it again. And while you're doing all that, make use of the tips that I've suggested in the first section of this guide. But again, the group leveling is so much more effective that I really recommend you find a way to do it in a group, even if that's looking for leveling groups. Well, now you're 60, what now? You need to clean up your character and get all those unlocks and form your basic build. That means, yeah, the class quests and the waypoints and strongholds, right? But a cool tip is that even in Torment mode, you can go solo strongholds at only 2 levels higher than your current level. I'm doing this one at level 60 in Torment mode, where most mobs are like 70 to 73. But here in the strongholds, it's putting them just above my level for some reason. So they're like 62. That's amazing because we're getting Torment mode 200% monster XP, and we're soloing content that's basically the right level for us. So go clear all the strongholds in Torment mode as a great method. Next, I would also suggest you consider farming your unique elite. We all have one that drops a weapon we can use. I have a full video about this on the channel right now. It's a consistent way to get a weapon type you need and roll the odds for that specific drop to maybe get a high power level version. Now, unfortunately, these items are unique. They come with 3 affixes that are set compared to 4 random ones, so they're never really going to be ideal, even if you re-roll like one of them to make it better, although some are better than others. But in this case, you're probably going from, say, a power level 600 to 700 weapon to potentially 800 plus. So even like terrible positive affixes or badly rolled, it's still going to be worth it. Another tip is to farm Hell Tides while in Nightmare mode or tier 3 whenever they're up. Then you swap to Torment mode to open the chests, which currently works as a clever way to do the content at a reasonable level, right? But then get the better rewards anyway. And generically, you can always do the Tree of Whisperers to generate your glyphs you're probably missing and grab specific loot. In regards to alts in Diablo 4, I strongly recommend you have some bank characters. The stash is still a joke. The more I play this game, the more it makes me mad. The stash is shared, so you can transfer items between characters using it, which is great. The problem is we don't have our own individual stash at the same time. This means that you already had next to no space, not enough enough space for one character, so having multiple is going to be impossible. Therefore, creating bank characters that stand at the stash and take things out of the stash to put into their limited inventory to make room is the current best solution to what is a really simple and silly problem that shouldn't exist. But there you have it. That is my full overview of all the steps to the extreme leveling strat of current Diablo 4. I hope this was useful to you, but if you guys have any extra tips, drop them in the comments. For now, I've been Hollow, you've been you, thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.